Ever get that, like, creepy feeling walking through a cemetery? Like someone's or something's watching you.
Ooh, yeah.
Today we're looking at two cemeteries known for their, well, ghostly residents and creepy stories.
Right.
We'll be diving into your research on Westminster Hall and Burial Ground,
Okay.
Maryland, and Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Illinois.
Sounds spooky.
It is. It's like, those places are meant for peaceful rest, right?
Right.
But they always end up with all these ghost stories.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like the stones are holding on to, the energy of everyone who was
Yeah.
there before.
Okay, so let's start with Westminster Hall.
Sure.
What makes it so unique in, like, the world of haunted cemeteries?
Well, Westminster Hall is really steeped in history.
Yeah.
It was established in 1786.
Wow, that's old.
It is, and it actually predates the church that was built over it, which is actually what led to the creation of catacombs beneath the church building.
Catacombs. Okay, now that sounds like the perfect setting for a ghost story.
Right.
But Westminster also has a very famous resident, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, wow, the master of the macabre.
Exactly.
And he's buried there.
He is.
Wow, but I bet his burial wasn't straightforward.
You'd be right.
What happened?
So he was actually initially buried in an unmarked grave.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he's Edgar Allan Poe.
I know, right? But later, a group of school children, they were really touched by him not having, a proper memorial.
Uh-uh.
So they actually held a fundraiser.
What?
Yeah, it was called Pennies for Poe
Oh, that's sweet.
to get him a headstone.
That's so heartwarming, like kids rallying for this mysterious literary figure.
I know. But the story doesn't end there.
Wow.
He was actually buried 3 times.
Wait, 3 times?
Within the same cemetery?
In the same cemetery?
Yeah, relocations, stolen markers, replacements. Like, it's almost as if his journey to eternal rest mirrored, the unsettling nature of his writing.
It's true. His writing was very unsettling.
Yes.
And now, Poe's ghost is said to haunt the cemetery.
That's right.
So what have people seen?
Well, a lot of people have reported seeing an apparition that matches his description.
Like what?
A tall, shadowy figure in a long black coat and a fedora,
Oh, wow.
often standing by his grave.
Right by his grave.
Yeah, which you mentioned earlier is near his wife.
Oh, that's right. Virginia Clem.
And his mother-in-law,
And she was
Maria Poe Clem.
Maria Poe Clem. Okay.
His wife was also his cousin, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
So Poe's life was full of these, strange, almost gothic coincidences.
It really was.
Yeah, and his death, too, wasn't without its mysteries.
I mean, we're talking about 1849, right?
Yeah, but still, his sudden demise is still debated.
What are the main theories?
Well, they range from alcohol withdrawal to this very sinister practice called cooping.
Cooping?
I've never
What?
heard of that. Yeah, so cooping was a horrific form of voter manipulation.
Okay.
Unsuspecting victims would be kidnapped,
Oh, no.
often intoxicated,
Oh, wow.
and forced to vote multiple times for a certain candidate.
That's horrible.
It's a really dark reminder of just how brutal political tactics could be.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's get back to the cemetery.
Okay.
There's another chilling tale
Okay.
associated with Poe's grave.
What's that?
The story of the Poe toaster.
The Poe toaster. Okay.
For decades, a mysterious figure, never identified, would visit Poe's grave on his birthday,
Oh, wow.
leaving 3 red roses and a half-empty bottle of cognac.
A secret admirer from beyond the grave.
Perhaps.
So did this just stop at some point?
Well, it continued until 1998,
Right.
when the original Poe toaster reportedly passed away.
Oh, wow.
But someone else seems to have taken up the mantle because the tributes still appear.
That's both fascinating and a little bit creepy.
It really is.
Speaking of creepy, you mentioned a story about a screaming skull at Westminster.
Oh, yes.
What is that about?
So this tale revolves around a local minister
Okay.
who was murdered.
Oh, jeez.
After he was buried, locals started reporting hearing, his skull.
His skull.
Yeah, screaming from inside the grave.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I know, and it would terrify anyone who came near.
So what did they do? Did they figure out what was causing it?
So, in a desperate attempt to silence the skull, they dug up the minister's body.
Oh my God.
And this is where it gets even more bizarre. They gagged the skull, encased it in concrete.
They what?
Yeah, and placed it next to the grave.
They gagged the skull.
I know, but they had to silence the screams.
Okay, but did it work?
Well, some say the screaming stopped.
Oh.
Others claim they can still hear faint cries
Oh my God.
from the concrete encased school.
That is so
I
creepy.
know. It's a story that just continues to haunt the cemetery, adding to its unsettling atmosphere.
It sounds like Westminster Hall has a lot of restless souls.
It does.
And you mentioned a few other ghostly residents?
I did.
Oh,
Well, there's Lucia Watson Taylor,
okay.
a young woman whose full-body apparition is often seen kneeling and praying by her grave.
What does her epitaph say?
It describes her as, like, a sweet and pious soul.
Oh.
It makes her ghostly presence even more, poignant.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's Leona Wellesley,
Okay.
and her story takes kind of a dark turn.
Okay.
Leona was a patient at a local asylum.
Okay.
She was considered so troubled
Oh, no.
that she was buried in a straitjacket.
Buried in a straitjacket.
I know, it's incredibly sad.
And does she haunt the cemetery too?
Visitors often report feeling a presence following them.
Oh,
Some even hear her laughing maniacally.
Oh, God, that's so creepy.
It's like her spirit is still trapped in that, state of torment.
Yeah, it's really a heartbreaking reminder of how mental illness was often treated
Right.
in the past. You also mentioned Old Valence,
Yes.
who seems like a protector almost.
Yes. He was the former groundskeeper,
Okay.
and he's said to still patrol the cemetery.
Really?
Yeah. And he chases away anyone who disrespects the graves.
What, like with his old groundskeeping tools or something?
Well, he's not afraid to use his shovel.
A shovel-wielding ghost.
I know. It's a good way to keep vandals at bay.
Yeah, it really is.
But beyond these individual stories, there seems to be something about, the overall atmosphere of
Yeah.
Westminster Hall that
Yeah.
that contributes to its haunted reputation.
You're right. You're right.
There are persistent rumors of frequent premature burials at Westminster Hall,
Oh, no.
especially in the catacombs.
The catacombs. Oh, my God. That is terrifying, the thought of being buried alive.
It was a very legitimate fear back then.
Yeah, I bet.
And the thought of it just adds another layer of, unease
Yeah.
to this already spooky place.
And then there's the grave robbing.
Right. So the cemetery's proximity to an old medical college made it a target for body snatchers.
Oh, no.
They wanted to provide cadavers for dissection.
It's gruesome, but I guess that was, scientific advancement back then.
Right.
It's no wonder there are so many restless spirits
Right.
at Westminster. There's one last story I have to ask you about Westminster.
Okay.
It's less about ghosts and more about the living.
Oh.
Specifically, some very disrespectful children.
Oh, you're talking about the school children who used the cemetery as a playground.
Yes. I mean, it's hard to believe, but you mentioned reports of them throwing human skulls around,
I know.
like as toys.
It's a disturbing image.
It is.
It suggests a complete lack of understanding and
Yeah.
respect for the history and sacredness of the place.
It's such a stark contrast to the school children who raised money for Poe's headstone.
Right.
It shows how perceptions of death and respect for the dead can vary so widely.
That's true.
Okay, let's move on to Bachelor's Grove
Okay.
in Illinois.
Sounds good.
What makes this place stand out even among haunted cemeteries
Bachelor's Grove is considered by many to be one of the most haunted cemeteries
in the world?
in the world.
Wow, that's saying something.
It has a global reputation for paranormal activity.
Wow, a global reputation. Okay, so what is it about Bachelor's Grove that's so intense?
Well, like Westminster Hall, it's old.
Ugh.
The first burial there dates back to 1834, making it the oldest existing cemetery in Cook County, Illinois.
Wow, but what sets it apart, from all the other haunted cemeteries?
I'd say it's the sheer variety and intensity of the paranormal activity reported there.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I know you mentioned there are about 80 graves at Bachelor's Grove,
Right.
but a lot of them have been vandalized.
Yeah, vandalism has been a real problem there.
Like what kind of vandalism?
Headstones being stolen, graves being dug up,
Oh my gosh.
even satanic rituals.
Satanic rituals. Okay. That's taking disrespect to a whole new
It
level.
really is.
What is it about this place that attracts this kind of activity?
I think it's the isolation of the cemetery, coupled with its, haunted reputation.
Right.
It seems to draw in those seeking out the darkness, those looking to, dabble in the occult.
Yeah, it's a tragic cycle.
That is.
Vandalism and disrespect just feeding this negative energy, which then attracts more of the same.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Bachelor's Grove has a darker
It does.
More sinister energy than
Yeah.
Westminster Hall.
I'd say so.
There's definitely a palpable sense of unease
Yeah.
that people feel
A lot of people have said that.
when they visit.
Yeah, like the air is heavy or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And the stories, they're enough to make even the most skeptical person, think
Yeah.
twice.
One of the most famous stories from Bachelor's Grove has to be the Legend of the Madonna,
Oh, yeah.
or the Woman in White.
Right.
It's one of the most iconic ghost photographs
It is.
ever taken,
Yeah. It shows a woman dressed in white sitting on a tombstone.
with a look of deep sadness
Yeah.
and longing.
I've seen that picture. It's haunting, but also beautiful.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about who she might be?
There are two main theories,
Okay.
both centering around the same family.
Okay, this is getting interesting. Tell me more.
So the first theory involves Catherine Vogt Fulton and her daughter, Marcia May.
Okay.
Marcia May died as an infant and was buried in Bachelor's Grove under a headstone that just reads infant daughter.
Oh, sad.
It is, and because of family conflict, Catherine herself was buried far away.
That's so tragic.
And some believe that the woman in white is Catherine, eternally searching for her lost child.
Oh, wow.
And it said that in early sightings, the woman in white was actually seen holding a baby.
Oh, my.
But the baby is no longer present in more recent sightings.
So maybe she was reunited with her daughter.
Right.
And now they wander the cemetery together.
Yeah, and there's another interesting detail.
Okay.
Visitors often leave toys
Hmm.
at the infant daughter grave,
Huh.
like they're paying tribute to the lost child.
Yeah.
Oh, that's touching.
Yeah, so what about the second theory?
Yeah, what's the second theory?
The second theory suggests that the woman in white is Luella Fulton Rogers, Catherine's sister-in-law.
Okay, and what's her connection to Bachelor's Grove?
Well, Luella died in a hit-and-run accident near the cemetery
Oh, geez.
and is buried next to her sister Emma.
Okay.
Sadly, Emma's headstone was stolen.
Oh, those vandals.
I know, right? And so those who believe the woman in white is Luella say that she's eternally searching for her sister's missing headstone,
Oh, wow.
unable to find peace until its return.
It makes you wonder if she'd even recognize the headstone after all these years.
That's true.
It's been kept safe, right?
Yeah, by the Tinley Park Historical Society.
To prevent it from being stolen again.
Right.
But wouldn't it be amazing if they just brought it back
I know.
to Bachelor's Grove?
Yeah.
Just to see if it would, allow Luella's spirit to rest.
Yeah. It's a compelling thought. Can you imagine witnessing that kind of resolution? A spirit finding peace after so long.
I know, it would be incredible.
It would.
There's one more Bachelor's Grove story
Okay.
I have to ask about. The disappearing farmhouse.
Ah, yes. The disappearing farmhouse.
What is that all about?
Well, it's also called the Magic House or the Phantom House.
Mm.
It's one of the most baffling and frequently reported phenomena at Bachelor's Grove.
Okay, so what are people actually seeing?
They describe like a white Victorian era farmhouse
Mm-hmm.
with a porch swing and a white picket fence.
Oh, nice.
Right. They see it at night, sometimes solid, sometimes translucent.
Okay.
But here's the strange part. It always disappears or shrinks as people approach.
Really?
Yeah, and there's absolutely no evidence that a house ever stood on that land.
It's like it exists and doesn't exist
At the same time.
at the same time. Do you have any theories about what might be causing this?
It's a tough one. Some believe it could be a residual haunting, like an imprint of a house that existed in another time.
Oh, okay, I could see that.
Others think it could be a porter.
Portal.
Yeah, to another dimension, briefly opening and closing.
Okay, now those are some wild theories.
I know, but when you're dealing with something as strange as a disappearing house, you have to be open to all possibilities.
That's true, that's true.
And Bachelor's Grove is a place of infinite possibilities.
Right.
Especially when it comes to the paranormal.
Yeah, it really seems that way. A disappearing farmhouse.
I know, right.
That's definitely weird.
It is.
But you also mentioned that Bachelor's Grove has a blue light phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, the blue light.
What is that?
It's probably the most commonly reported phenomenon at Bachelor's Grove.
Really?
Yeah, it's been described as this, basketball-sized orb of light
Mm-hmm.
that blinks, changes positions,
Okay.
and sometimes even chases people.
A chasing light. Okay, that's a little more menacing than a disappearing house.
It can be.
Especially for those people who report feeling like an unsettling presence with the light.
Yeah, some have even claimed to be pushed to the ground by it.
Pushed to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, that's officially crossing the line from curious to creepy.
Right. It makes you wonder about, the nature of this light. Is
Yeah.
it just an energy manifestation?
Right.
Or is there something more,
Conscious.
yeah, conscious, maybe even mischievous
No.
behind it?
I don't know if I want to stick around to find out.
I don't blame you.
Did anyone ever, capture this blue light on film?
Actually, yes.
Really?
In an episode of Ghost Adventures,
Oh, okay.
they filmed a blinking light
Okay.
moving in the distance at Bachelor's Grove.
Hmm.
It's not clear enough to tell if it's blue,
Right.
but the movement patterns definitely match, the witness descriptions.
So there's actual video evidence. That's pretty compelling.
It is. It is.
But the blue light isn't the only strange thing people have seen at Bachelor's Grove, right?
No, it's not.
What about this yellow man you mentioned earlier?
Oh, yeah, the yellow man.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
He is.
Who or what is he?
Well, he's definitely one of the more enigmatic figures associated with Bachelor's Grove.
Okay.
The first written account of him dates back to 1984.
Okay.
When this paranormal researcher, Norman Basil,
Mm-hmm.
he claimed to have seen this yellow figure by a tree wearing a hat, seemingly middle-aged.
Okay.
He tried to photograph it, but nothing appeared in the picture.
So it's a visual apparition,
Yeah.
but maybe not one that wants its picture taken.
It's possible. It's possible.
And this Norman guy, was he alone when he saw this?
He was with a group of researchers,
Okay.
including Dale Kaczmarek from the Ghost Research Society.
Okay.
And actually, another researcher was the first one to spot the yellow man.
So multiple witnesses.
Yes.
That definitely adds to the story's, credibility.
It does.
What happened after they saw the yellow man? Did anything else weird happen?
So, according to the reports, the group saw streaks of red light.
Red light.
Yeah, shooting across the sky after the apparition vanished. Mm-hmm. And then a single tree.
A single tree.
Yeah, just started shaking violently for no apparent reason.
That's freaky.
It is.
I mean, red lights, shaking trees, it sounds like a supernatural thriller.
It does, doesn't it?
It sounds like it really spooked them.
Yeah, they reportedly packed up their equipment and left immediately after that.
I mean, can you blame them?
Not at all.
Has anyone else reported seeing the yellow man?
There have been a few other accounts.
Okay.
This one woman felt like she was getting nothing from her investigation and was about to leave when she spotted him.
Oh.
And she was so scared.
Really?
She just ran right out of the cemetery.
So it's like he was waiting for her to almost give up.
Yeah.
Before revealing himself.
It's possible. Maybe he just likes a good dramatic entrance.
Or maybe he only appears to those who are, truly open to the experience.
Yeah, it could be it.
There was another woman who saw him.
Yeah.
While feeling dizzy and lightheaded.
Right, and she claimed her camera malfunctioned.
What?
Yeah, it would turn on and off, change settings by itself.
So not only is he creepy, but he also messes with technology.
Apparently so.
Maybe he has some kind of electromagnetic energy that disrupts electronics.
It's possible. It definitely adds another layer of weirdness to the already mysterious yellow man.
What else have people seen at Bachelor's Grove?
Phantom cars driving on the old road.
Phantom cars?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
People report seeing vehicles from different eras driving through the cemetery, even though the road leading into it isn't in use anymore.
Wow, so it's like echoes of the past are somehow imprinted on the land?
Yeah, time seems to bend in these places, doesn't it?
It really does.
Past and present kind of blurring together.
You also mentioned a black dog.
Oh, yes. The black dog.
What about him?
Often seen at the entrance to the cemetery.
Okay.
Sometimes guarding it, sometimes running through the woods.
Like a protector.
It connects to this, ancient folklore where black dogs are often seen as guardians or harbingers of death.
It's fascinating how these ancient beliefs
I know.
and archetypes, they weave their way into modern ghost stories.
Right. We're tapping into something primal, something deep within our collective unconscious.
Speaking of firsthand encounters, one of our listeners, Lady,
Okay.
wrote in to share her personal experiences at Bachelor's Grove.
Oh, yeah. Lady's stories they're chilling.
I know. She had multiple encounters, right?
She did.
What happened during her first visit?
So she and a friend were approaching the back trail entrance to the cemetery when they were confronted by this massive buck.
A buck?
Yeah, blocking the path.
Oh, wow.
And it just stared at them intensely, refusing to move,
Hold
even
on.
as a car drove right past it.
So just standing there blocking their path.
Yeah, it's like it was a guardian warning them to turn back.
That's so creepy.
And as if that wasn't unnerving enough, as they were hurrying back to their car,
Yeah.
this dog suddenly appeared in the middle of the street watching them.
2 animal encounters in such a short time.
Mm.
That's too weird to be a coincidence.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
It definitely sounds like something supernatural was going on.
Maybe the animals were guardians of the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they were manifestations of something else entirely.
Right.
It's a mystery that just adds to the, eerie atmosphere of the place.
Totally.
Did she have any other encounters at Bachelor's Grove?
Yeah, she did. On another visit, Lady brought her dog, Rocky,
Okay.
who's a Rottweiler German Shepherd mix, usually very friendly.
Okay.
And as they were walking back to their car, they encountered a man in a black trench coat.
Mm.
The man completely ignored them, like walked straight towards them, almost bumped into Rocky. But Rocky went absolutely ballistic,
Oh, wow.
growling, trying to attack the man.
Oh, that's scary.
I know, it's almost as if Rocky sensed something about the man
Yeah.
that humans couldn't perceive.
Right. Like maybe he wasn't entirely there.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the man didn't react to them at all
Right.
makes it even stranger. It's like he was a phantom, just passing through their world.
Yeah. Yeah. Very strange.
Okay, but Lady's last experience, it's less about a visual encounter
Okay.
and more about a feeling.
Oh, okay.
So she and a friend decide to go to Bachelor's Grove at sunrise.
Okay.
But as soon as they reached the entrance, Lady was overcome with this overwhelming sense of sadness
Oh, wow.
and heaviness.
Mm.
And it just intensified as they walked deeper into the cemetery.
It's like the cemetery itself was rejecting their presence.
Yeah, it's a powerful way to put it. They ended up leaving pretty quickly.
Really?
Just terrified by this all-encompassing dread. She said it was the most intense feeling of fear she'd ever experienced.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it really is. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase bad vibes.
Right.
But Lady did end her email on a lighter note.
Okay.
She had an encounter with the police at Bachelor's Grove.
Oh, no.
So she and her friends were hanging out in the cemetery at night.
Mm.
Not exactly respectful behavior, I have to admit.
No, not really.
And they got spooked when some other teenagers came running in, shouting that the cops were coming.
So they were busted.
Busted. They scattered, of course,
Yeah.
running in different directions through the woods.
Okay.
Lady and her friends ended up getting lost for over an hour,
Oh, jeez.
scratching themselves on branches, thorns.
Ouch.
She said when they finally emerged from the woods covered in cuts and blood,
Oh, my
they
God.
looked like they'd just escaped from a slasher film.
That's funny.
And no one stopped to help them.
Really?
No. I guess people in that area are just used to seeing strange things.
Right. Probably a wise decision.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that these places can be dangerous even without the ghosts.
That's true.
You know, trespassing in a cemetery, especially at night, never a good idea.
You're absolutely right.
It's important to treat these places with respect, whether or not you believe in the stories.
I couldn't agree more. These cemeteries are filled with history,
Yeah.
with the memories of, countless lives.
Yeah.
We should approach them with reverence, not as like places for thrill seeking
Right.
or mischief.
Well said. But even with that respect in mind, it's hard to deny the sense of mystery and intrigue
Yeah.
that surrounds these places.
It's true.
I'm feeling inspired to do a little cemetery exploration of my own.
Just remember to be safe and respectful.
Oh, we will.
And who knows, maybe you'll have an encounter to share on our next deep dive.
I would love that. But even without a personal ghost story, exploring these cemeteries, through research and stories, it's an incredible experience. It's a journey into history, folklore,
Right.
and the enduring human fascination with the unknown.
It really is, and it leaves us with more questions than answers.
Yeah, it does.
Like, what truly happened to Edgar Allan Poe?
Right.
Who is the woman in white and what she's searching for?
And what about that disappearing farmhouse?
Yeah, is it a portal to another time, another dimension?
And maybe that's the point.
Hmm.
These stories, they're not meant to be solved.
Right.
They're meant to spark our curiosity, to make us think about the mysteries that surround us.
Yeah, and remind us that there's still so much we don't understand about the world
Yeah.
and about ourselves.
Beautifully said. And that's the beauty of the deep dive.
Yeah.
It's about exploring the unknown, challenging our assumptions,
Right.
and just embracing the wonder of it all.
That's what it's all about.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yes.
keep sharing your own experiences and perspectives,
Because the journey is just as important as the destination.
especially when it comes to unraveling the mysteries of the unexplained.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of haunted cemeteries.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another adventure into the realm of the strange and wonderful.